Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian. Doing a collection update, and I've got several 4Ks to talk about, and actually there's a lot of Paramount happening in this group. Some smatterings of other stuff, but of course I'm not going to start with the Paramount title, but let's start with V for Vendetta 4K. Quick disclaimer about this one. So I got the 4K. It was on sale from Amazon for like $7.99, and I like this movie, so I bought it. Watched the 4K, or tried to, and got to about the 3/4 mark, and just started freezing up on me. So tried to return it or just exchange it with Amazon, stupidly thinking maybe, it's pressing it. I don't know what I was thinking. It probably, if I got another copy, it probably wouldn't play. I have a feeling my 4K player is a little wonky. It's been giving me some trouble this year, so it might be time to get a new player. But so I tried to return it to Amazon, couldn't return it. They would not exchange it. They would give me a refund, but they would not exchange it for a new copy, and that's what I wanted to try. So I just said, forget it, and I just kept it. I got the digital code, and there's some good features on this as well. So James McTeague and Lana Wachowski in conversation, looking back, Natalie Portman's audition, V for Vendetta Unmasked, making of, and more. There's good stuff on here, and this is a really interesting movie, kind of a 1984-esque dystopian futuristic society where everybody's sort of being watched and kept tabs on, and then you have one guy who has decided, nope, not going to do that. And I guess I always kind of like movies like that, when there's somebody that just decided, I'm not going to put up with the status quo anymore, and I'm going to be, I guess he's kind of more than not putting up with it. He's basically a terrorist, and I'm not pro that, but it's just an interesting point of view in a society, an oppressive society like the one in this film. But a movie I still enjoy watching, and I'm glad I picked up the 4K, and I like Natalie Portman in it, and Hugo Weaving. I think it's Hugo Weaving, isn't it? Anyway, so I dig this 4K, but just beware that there might be some issues with certain players, might not work, and maybe it's just my player specifically. But anyway, I'm keeping it. Maybe I get a new player. Maybe it plays fine. We'll see what happens. But so I had to get that at like $8, right? Okay, Paramount. So we got the new 4K of Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese's film Wolf of Wall Street, a movie that I have a checkered past with, in that I got to admit, when I first saw it, I didn't care for it. It wasn't for me at the time. I just found the characters to be too unlikable, and I like movies with unlikable characters, and this is very much a Scorsese model, like it's got the opening bit, where we see the character as he is in his element, like in this case, he's driving his flashy car, and he's being who he is, in all his, glory. And then we flash back and we see the rise, and it's a rise and fall, and Scorsese does rise and falls better than anybody. I immediately think of Goodfellas when I think of this movie, Casino, I guess, too. He's just really good at it. And so I just had some trouble with the characters the first time. I understood that it was presenting them with no judgment, and that, it's not endorsing their behavior in any way. It's just presenting it. Here it is. You make your own decision. And subsequent viewings, I'm starting to get it. I'm usually not this slow, in terms of coming around to a movie. But the filmmaking is so amazing. I mean, it's just, I was showing my son, and, we got up to the scene with McConaughey, and I was like, oh, buddy, this is such a great scene. And it's so neat because Scorsese can have a movie like that. He can have a movie that has this incredible scene with McConaughey, which is featured heavily in the trailer, rightfully so, because he's so good in the movie. But he's only in the movie for a short time, and then we have more stuff happening, you know? But yeah, Leo and DiCaprio and Jonah Hill are outstanding together, and yes, their characters are terrible people. But that said, like I said, I'm coming to understand the film. I'm coming to understand how well made it is and how I can still enjoy it and even laugh at some of the horrible things that are happening, and not dislike the movie. Again, I don't know what it was about the first time I watched it, but anyway, just a great, well-made, well-acted, you know, based on a true character guy story, and really powerful stuff ultimately. And there's some fun features on this. The Wolf Pack, Running Wild, and Wolf of Wall Street Roundtable. You know, it's talking to the actors. The Wolf of Wall Street Roundtable has got Scorsese, the screenwriter, Jonah, and Leonardo DiCaprio. And I think that's my favorite one. They're all good, though. I mean, I want to say it's about 40 minutes of content, maybe. I would love a commentary on this movie for whatever reason, but Marty doesn't seem to do those as much anymore, which I get. He's a busy guy, and I'd rather he's out there making movies than doing commentaries. But anyway, looks really good, and you know, again, a movie that I'm coming around to, and definitely recommend the Blu-ray if you're a fan. Next up, we have the Addams Family, the original Addams Family movie, directed by oh man, I'm losing Barry Sonnenfeld, losing my mind. And this was, I want to say, maybe his first feature, and he had been a cinematographer for years, working with the likes of the Coen brothers, and you know, doing stuff like Miller's Crossing, Blood Simple, Raising Arizona. In fact, no, he also did stuff like Big, Throw Mama from the Train, Misery. So he's working with Rob Reiner a bit before this. But I guess Scott Rudin at Paramount, or Scott Rudin, the producer, you know, really wanted somebody with a visual flair to make this movie. This all comes out in the Filmmaker Focus on this disc, which, you know, is one of the new things they tend to do on these Paramount discs, which I like. They tend to be pretty short, usually 6 to 8 minutes. This one's about 16 minutes, so it's a little bit more substantial, and that's great, especially because Sonnenfeld has a lot of interesting stuff to say about the film, his memories of it, you know. But anyway, so he's talking about how Scott Rudin wanted a visual stylist, and obviously if you've seen 3 O'Clock High or you've seen Raising Arizona, any of these films, you know that Barry Sonnenfeld brings a real flair for the visual to his filmmaking, and I kind of love that about him. So anyway, he talks about going after cinematographer Owen Roizman, who shot The French Connection and Network, and getting him to shoot the movie and saying, you know, I'm going to leave you alone except a few things. Like, I want to pick the lenses, and he talked about he always wanted to shoot Angelica Houston's character in shadow, and there was like one other thing that he talks about. But anyway, so this disc has an introduction by him, and it features an extended version of the Mamushka scene, which is this sort of celebratory dance scene in the midpoint in the movie, which used to be a lot shorter, but which is longer in one version that you can watch in this. And I like it longer. It's a fun scene. And it's sort of, it motivates certain character things, which I'm not going to go into if you haven't seen the movie, but the setup is, yeah, I'll give you the setup. They're looking for Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester is played by Christopher, I'm sorry, why am I blanking on everybody's names today? Christopher Lloyd. And initially it's sort of set up that he is like a con artist and he's going to pretend to be Fester. And the movie goes from there. But, there's some interesting stuff that comes out in the interview with Sonnenfeld that sort of ties into that. And I'd rather everybody watch the movie and then watch that interview and then kind of absorb that for themselves. Anyway, looks very good. A very nice 4K from Paramount overall. And just a blast. I forgot that it's a Christmas movie, and it starts with a bunch of carolers outside the Addams Family place, and then it cranes up, and here's the Addams Family with a big cauldron of presumably hot water if they're being nice, or hot oil if they're going medieval, about to dump it on the carolers. And we don't even hear the screams or anything, but that starts the movie. And I totally forgot how dark this is for a studio movie. I really don't feel like studios make movies on this scale this dark anymore. And so on that level, I was just like, wow, okay, you got my attention. And I'd forgotten how dark you are, movie. And it's very dark, and that's great, because it's true to the characters of the original television show. And anyway, enjoyed my rewatch of that. Also enjoyable, Beavis and Butthead Do America. First time on Blu-ray. And really nice commentary with Mike Judge and Yvette Kaplan, who I want to say is either a producer or definitely had worked with him a lot, and they have a great relationship, so they seem to go back. I know she worked on the show and stuff, I think, too. And it's just a great, friendly conversation, and remembering all kinds of stuff. Mike Judge I've just always found to be very funny, and obviously he does all the voices, so when you hear Mike Judge talk, you can't help but think of all the characters he's voiced, even though his normal voice is not quite touching all those. But, yeah, he has some great stories. Just one about, like, it was like another producer or somebody, casting person maybe, coming to him and saying, oh, I've got some ideas about the casting. For Butthead, I was thinking, and Mike was just like, well, actually, I do the voice of Butthead. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, for Beavis, I do that voice too. Then started talking about some of the other characters. Like, well, that's me. And just, like this thing where I'm sure she was kind of like aghast at the opportunities they were missing, but it's his show, it's his characters, and he is the voice of them. And so anyway, I found that amusing, but, a very fun movie. And I want to say Mike Judge said something like one of the last studio cell animated movies produced. I don't know if that's right, but it feels like, hand-drawn animation cell kind of stuff. I want to say it was one of the last ones. Now I'm totally screwing this up. Probably it's not that or whatever. I'm characterizing the film, but regardless, it's an old style of animation compared to now. Obviously it's all CG now, and this definitely was not that. But it's a fun little adventure across America. Beavis and Butthead get themselves into some ridiculous situations. That's one of the things Mike Judge actually talks about in the commentaries, is he's like, it's not as easy as you think to have really dumb characters as your main characters, because then you just have to find ways for them to get into situations because they're not smart enough or driven enough to, do things themselves. They just end up in certain situations and react to them. And he said it's hard work because you kind of have to back into a lot of and reverse engineer a lot of stuff. And he's right. And I never thought about that. I was like, oh, must be easy to have characters that are stupid. No, it's not, apparently. But anyway, so there's some other features on here, but I think the commentary is my favorite. Movie looks nice. Definitely worth a pickup if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of Mike Judge. Beavis and Butthead Do America. Okay, some stuff I haven't opened here yet. Night at the Roxbury. This one goes out to my friend Keith, who I did a really fun podcast, Just the Disc podcast, with about our favorite discoveries of the year, which, I covered a lot of that stuff in my discoveries video, but definitely go have a listen because Keith's got a whole 5 recommendations, and unfortunately I'm spoiling one of them here. This is one that he listed as one of his favorites of the year. And he's like me in that, the features are okay, he said, but the movie is just a favorite of his, and I get it. I think this is one of the more successful movies based on a SNL sketch. You know, I think it works better than it should. It doesn't outstay its well. I don't know. Like, I was just surprised how much I enjoy this film, especially, and I mentioned this in the podcast, but there's a scene where they're telling this story about having met Emilio Estevez at a club or something, and Will Ferrell tells this part where he's like, and I was like, hey, Emilio, and I just love what they do with it, because they basically show them using this story to try and pick up women, and they cut, and each time, obviously, it's not successful, and each time they cut, and it's them telling the story again, and him saying, Emilio, again, and I just love that, and I actually stole it for a script that I wrote. I just had another, I can't remember how I incorporated it, but it was a similar kind of thing where two guys were telling the same story over and over again, as guys are wont to do, myself included. And I just always thought it was so amusing. But anyway, it's a super silly, fun, if you know the characters, you know the story. But I was really surprised that I didn't pick this up right away. I haven't cracked it open yet, but I'm going to, and I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to enjoy it. That is Night at the Roxbury. This one was a gift from my wife. What Lies Beneath. I think a thriller from Robert Zemeckis that holds up for me. I know this was, I think, critically panned at the time, and I remember having certain reactions to it when I saw it in the theater, but subsequent viewings have proved fruitful to me. You know, it's a thriller with a supernatural bent to it, and I'm not going to go into details, but Harrison Ford is interesting in this role. It's not like too many characters he's played, and Michelle Pfeiffer is very good as well. But yeah, it's just got this really, let's see, what can I say about it? Exciting supernatural thriller. Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer play a seemingly happily married couple who uncover a terrible secret, a secret so disturbing it threatens to destroy them. You know, I don't want to give away any more than that. But yeah, it's a really interesting movie the way it plays out, and I kind of want to watch it now. Yeah, I like this one. And this has a commentary from Zemeckis, and I enjoy that. I remember there's a bit where he's talking about, who did he cast in this? Diana Scarwood, for sure. One of the Warriors is in this, and I'm blank. James Remar. And somebody asked him, I think there's somebody with him in the commentary, and they're talking to him about casting, you know, actors like that, and he's just like, oh yeah, you know, I can't remember what he said, but he's basically talking about seeing older movies and just being like, you know, I'm going to put that guy in a movie. Now, I'm totally paraphrasing, but it was interesting to hear him talk about casting, you know, and remembering actors, because he's clearly a guy that likes movies, you know, and that's not surprising to me. And so it was cool to hear that point of view of a director who's like not afraid to cast, you know, a box office draw kind of a good character actor that will make your movie better, as opposed to, anyway. I just remember digging the commentary too. So, What Lies Beneath. Another lovely gift from my wife, The Twilight People. This is directed by Eddie Romero, a Filipino exploitation film, very much in the vein of Dr. Moreau, very much, and features Pam Grier as a Panther Woman, and it stars, what's his name? John Ashley. John Ashley, who is one of the stars of the Beach Party movies, and who apparently found his footing in the Philippines and did a bunch of films down there, and he's very good. He's kind of slightly sleazy in this, but he's good. I can't explain it. He really works. Anyway, I watched it on YouTube, and I'm very excited to watch this new Blu-ray, which has a commentary by David Del Valle and David Dakota, video interview with Eddie Romero. But yeah, no, this is just a really fun movie. Like, there's like a Batman you can see there, and the makeup's pretty good on some of the monster people, but it's very Island of Dr. Moreau. If you know that story and Most Dangerous Game, that whole bit, it's like a combo of those two. And I was just really surprised by how entertained I was by this movie. Really, really hooked me. And it's a remastered in 2K from a 35mm negative. So very nice. And then last but not least, we have a new one from Warner Archive, Angels with Dirty Faces. This directed by Michael Curtiz from, I want to say, 1938. Sort of a gangster movie. You have two young guys, two boys. We see them at the beginning of their lives as friends. One would later be played by James Cagney. He's a criminal. And then the other is played by Pat O'Brien, who is a priest. And it says off-screen pals James Cagney and Pat O'Brien teamed up for the 6th time in this enduring gangster classic. Cagney's Rocky Sullivan is a charismatic ghetto tough whose underworld rise makes him a hero to a gang of slum punks played by the Dead End Kids. So before they became the Bowery Boys, they were the Dead End Kids, and so all the Bowery Boy kids are here, and they're good in this movie. Let's see here. Pat O'Brien is Father Connolly, the boyhood chum turned priest who vows to end Rocky's influence. Other ace talents join them. Humphrey Bogart as a scheming lawyer. It's always funny to see Bogart as a bad guy, as a squirmy, skeevy bad guy. It's intriguing to me. He just, I don't know. He tends to go over the top a little bit with it, but there's something about that I always enjoy. Let's see here. Ann Sheridan is Rocky's hard-edged girlfriend, and the Dead End's kids as worshipful street urchins, all ably directed by Michael Curtiz. Let's see here. This has got some fun features on it. I'll do those really quick. Leonard Maltin hosts Warner Night at the Movies with a newsreel, music short, a cartoon, trailers. Then we have Angels with Dirty Faces, What Do You Hear, What Do You Say, with a bunch of film professors talking about the movie, and then a commentary with film historian Dana Poland, and audio-only radio production of the film with 2 stars. Okay, here's one thing I'll say about the movie. I don't care for the ending. I understand that it's a production code thing, but the ending, it has the potential to move people, and you could watch the film and actually be moved by it, but it just doesn't feel true to Cagney to me in a way. Like, I don't know how to put it, because that's not fair to Cagney. That's not to say that Cagney could do anything but be a tough guy. Like, he can do more than that. He's a very capable actor. In fact, one of our great actors, I think. And yeah, there's just something about the ending that feels a little forced to me, and I'm not going to ruin it or anything like that. Maybe I am ruining it. But it's a surpriser of an ending, and it's I'm not going to say it. But you know, still an interesting rewatch nonetheless. The transfer looks great, as always, on Warner Archive Blu-rays. I love them. So I do recommend it. If you're a gangster movie fan, definitely worth checking out, especially for the Dead End Kids, as they are also really good in the film. So that is it for this collection update. Hopefully there's some stuff in here for you to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I know there's many ways you could be spending your time, and I do appreciate it. So thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.